It's Patrick Beatty Reviews, the #1 for news. It's Patrick Beatty Reviews, #1 for news. Yeah. Tune in, get up. Yeah, what's up?
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What is up, my gaggly geeks, and welcome to our review of Black Adam. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on the channel actually talking reviews in video form. Sure, you've seen me in the ABC4 segments and stuff, and yes, I get to appear on much like our special guests podcast, many other podcasts, and it's just nice to be able to be back and be doing some smaller reviews and just cutting through, trying to go through grammatical errors and, make errors on video instead. So to start this off, let me introduce my guest. We know him from the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, and you can follow him at VS Movie Podcast on all podcast platforms. Please welcome Mark. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. Happy post Turkey Day to you, sir.
Yes. Are you stuffed?
Yes, I am.
Nice. Did you go for turkey, or did you go
Nope.
for any specialty?
Nope, just turkey.
Nice. Well, I don't think turkeys would survive too long in this universe with Black Adam. It's starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and this is a film that's been in the running for quite a while, at least on his roster, something he's wanted to do since 2008 when it was first announced that he was in talks to join it. Nearly 5,000 years after I don't know, he was trapped in some way. He gets released. He is now battling the Justice Society with Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, many other characters like Hawkman and Atom Smasher.
Atom Smasher and Cyclone.
We have a ton of new characters. Looks like a reintroduction to the DC universe and a new start to what could be a very lucrative universe that The Rock is very sensitive about, you can tell, especially as of late when it comes to Twitter and comparisons of Marvel properties.
Yeah, he's
And I look like a shill by saying that. I was just talking about
pun. Yeah, I know, right? The pun here is that he really does kind of have a chip on his shoulder about this.
Mm-hmm.
But he's look, I am for anyone that loves a property enough to fight for it for a decade. That really puts their heart and soul into something. So I kudos to Mr. The Rock. But this is I call this Warner's soft reboot. Because they had the DC universe and then it kind of became this Snyderverse thing, controversy action going on. This is not completely away from that. But
we've not just had the DC universe, though. We've had our branch off into the Joker universe with Todd Phillips. We've had a branch off into the Matt Reeves universe
with the Batman.
There's
one,
been all
one
kinds
can
of,
argue
the CW DC universe,
the Arrowverse, and don't even get me started. If you want, we can tangent into the Arrowverse.
No, we can't tangent too hard on it.
Well, let me
say that they've done a lot of different iterations of something that feels inherently broken.
Yes. And they have yet to figure out how to fix it.
Right.
This is not bad.
Right.
Which some people say it's bad. Right? No, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's still Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah.
Playing mono emotional, not hero. He would hunt me down, and if he ever heard this. But I'm going to tell you that really this is the movie that allows Warner Brothers to introduce more heroes via the Justice Society.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think is going to be the biggest impact that Black Adam has.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's break down really quick who Black Adam is really fast. So his actual character name in this
Toth Adam.
He gets dug up by someone named Adriana Thomas. He's the protector of the civilization, who they have claimed to be essentially the first big, like, modern, using modern technology type of civilization that's very advanced for its time. And something happened, and it, had lost its name because other cities grew. I think that was the It's been a little bit, right? Is that what the reason
Yeah,
was?
the
didn't
country
just get destroyed or
no,
anything.
the name of the nation escapes me, and I apologize for that because it's been a while. But no, they were like a pre-Egyptian society that was advanced for its age. But like so many nations in that region, and that region is not really defined. You'll think, Northern Africa, Middle East. They, things collapse, they fall. So he's buried for 5,000 years. And that area, what is basically that country, has been taken over by, now it's run by this huge mercenary group that we don't really know anything about. They're like techno mercenaries. So there's all this really fantastic technology.
It's called Intergang.
Intergang, thank you. It's Intergang, and they run off of the mineral. Basically, it's basically DC's equivalent of vibranium. It's a mineral that has that
a MacGuffin.
Do stuff. Yeah, it's a MacGuffin. So that's why they run. So yeah, so it's got that feel to it. But it's cool that it's set in, so if you're a Marvel guy, you shill. You've got Black Panther, and you've got that Central Africa thing going on, but now you've got the Middle East thing going on in DC. So you do get a nice different feel to it, which is cool. I think the Egyptian feel in Moon Knight for Marvel is slightly better, but I think that's because it was more episodes and they had more time to flesh it out. So that's not necessarily a knock on Black Adam. That's just a more development time issue. So
this is directed by Jean-Colette Serra, and there's a pretty large writing list of people. It can seem like this film has one foot in the past as far as superhero tropes and stuff goes, and one foot in the present with what they were maybe doing reshoots with or working on. So there's a lot to say about where this story was going and how this is kind of like an anti-hero story where he's insistent that he's not a hero while at the same time serving his people and being a leader to his own group, I suppose. What I would say though is while there's really good performances with everything, I think particularly Pierce Brosnan and Aldous Hodge is incredible in this. You could talk a lot about Noah Centineo and Sarah Shahi, but I think that at the end of the day, there is a lot that feels stale with it coming out already, and I think audiences have responded in that sense as well, where we're much more interested in a narrative that isn't, maybe the origin story has just overstayed its welcome in a lot of cases. And this one has too many origin story tropes that we just are waiting for it to skip through. But I want to know, what was your overall thoughts after leaving the first time watching Black Adam?
I thought it was better right out of the theater than I think I do now. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad film. But like I said, you can feel the love in it, and I think that helps a lot. So I have it at like a 6.5 out of 10. So it's not, like I said, it's not a bad film. It's not great. But going back to your point about the origin story stuff real quick. Like, no one needs to see Batman's parents die. No one needs to see Peter Parker get bitten by a spider. But once you start pulling out these other heroes, you have to have something, even if it's not as drawn out. People still need to see
that something in the trailer,
right? So that's why I'll be interested to see mild tangent. I'll be interested to see how Marvel handles the Fantastic Four reboot. Because we've now had 2 major cinematic interpretations of their origin and 1 minor legendary interpretation of their origin story on film. So, and I've seen all 3.
Arguably, none of them have worked.
The first one, the first
maybe
one
you could say the Tim Story one worked, but it went to a sequel and completely was crushed.
The Corman produced version is the most comics accurate origin. I'd like to see something closer to that.
Yeah. There's a lot of leaks to say about that.
Yeah.
But back to DC, I do think that DC has a good idea with having The Rock kind of steer this in the right direction, because he did have good insight with it. And before we get into this quick part, I want to make sure that we have a spoiler alert. because at the end of this film, Henry Cavill Superman does show up, and he looks like he's a basically a refreshed looking Superman. You've got the long curly Q. He's wearing the original Man of Steel suit, which they heavily color graded, and maybe it was just what the color actually was. And Zack Snyder was so muted with the Man of Steel film.
Well,
just couldn't
let's
tell.
remember that Whedon recolored Justice League
Mm,
and brightened it up. So yeah, you're probably looking at what Snyder shot and then graded back
right.
in Man of Steel. So if they
Poor Henry
pulled,
Cavill. He was
if it,
probably in that suit, just like this is gonna be such a positive and bright Superman. He watched it. He's like, whoa.
yeah,
Not yet, I guess.
not yet.
But now it looks like he could. And The Rock is very much interested in having these two fight, while at the same time, we're sitting here with Shazam Fury of the Gods coming out fairly soon.
Yep.
And I don't think this story did anything to try to lean us into any confrontation with that. And that's what also seemed so off with this film to me, is that yes, there were connections to Shazam in the sense that there was the returning wizard that showed up from
Yep.
the first film, but also the fact that they just really don't have any type of connection to the present day Shazam and that family,
Yep.
and they didn't even want to set it up, seems to me that it's something behind the scenes that The Rock just does not want to do anything with them, and that doesn't help the movie, in my opinion.
No,
It feels too separate.
yeah, you're right. The thing with Shazam, I tried not to listen to too much garbage beforehand. I don't think because The Rock really was playing up there's a new sheriff in town, the hierarchy of power has changed, yada yada yada, and then at the end of his film, Henry Cavill is back,
Mhm.
which is I think hilarious.
We
Now
reinstated the hierarchy.
never mind, yeah, as we were.
Right.
So, but no, this is I could have seen Warner Brothers mandating some kind of Shazam cameo in the credits had they not come to terms with Henry Cavill coming back.
Well, we know the behind the scenes story about it now, right?
I
can give you
probably
some
heard it.
breakdown. So essentially, the big issue was Henry Cavill wanting to have his own solo film. He really was pushing for that, and the existing studio was not interested in it. And Walter Hamada specifically was offended when Henry Cavill refused to show up to stand in for Shazam and be that cameo. So that made him so upset that he did not want to do any re-signing with him for any future films. That's why The Rock was so important, because it was back then that he was insisting that Henry Cavill has to be there and he has to be a Superman. Kept insisting on it, even though they kept saying no. He kept being like, "Yeah, but plan on it. Like that's gonna happen." Probably with the Rock energy eating 15 protein pancakes
Right.
and just staring them down and not blinking or something. But I do really respect that, and I am excited to see what they do with Superman. But that's again the issue with this film, is because there's so much setup of typical rehashing of the origin story that doesn't tell us anything new. Maybe has a new setting and some new drapings and some character choices, but still in the end it's still an origin story that doesn't do much different. We're way more interested in what's happening with Henry Cavill than we are with our main character.
Right. And even we don't even get an origin on the Justice Society. They just appear as if and that's fine.
Though they're good.
Though they're good. Yeah. So we don't get an origin on that. This is a Black Adam origin story. Future films might delve into the background of the Justice Society. I want to know how Aldous Hodges, Carter Hall, made all his money to afford that freaking X Mansion. But
yeah, well, you can call it the X Mansion because I'm pretty sure it was at one point.
In one of the versions, yeah, it feels like it. But I mean, with the grounds and everything, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's
right. A jet comes out of the school.
I think it's Oprah's summer house is really what I think it is.
But
there
you go.
It's just ridiculous. But it's
it
nice.
Was a Kingsman house too, probably.
Yeah, that's true. But no. So they didn't subject us to two origin stories. It's Black Adam's movie. Boom. Black Adam origin. We got teased one character's origin from the Justice Society, and it's not even really Dr. Fate. It's Atom Smasher, and that's a phone call,
right?
You know,
Which was
with a weird cameo. That was the weirdest cameo ever.
But at the same time, it's like we de-age him and maybe show us what that was like.
No, yeah, at some point they will. They'll do a full CGI, spoiler alert, version of pre-Atom Smasher. So,
so where do you think they're going to take the sequel in this? Anything you want to say on the story, or before you go into that, I guess?
For Black Adam?
Yeah. Anything you want to wrap up with it before we talk about sequel and stuff like that? I
think the story, like I said, the story of the film is fine. I think it's a good story. There are 3 credited writers, and I don't know in what order they worked on it and in what time periods they worked on it. But again, this project has been percolating for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get some differences in different scenes, maybe feel a little different, just because that's just the nature of writing. I think the next appearance for Black Adam will not be a direct sequel. I think it will be in another movie, a la Batman versus Superman, but not necessarily confrontationally. But I don't think it'll be a full up Justice Society type film.
Right.
Which is my guess. Warner Brothers does not pay me to write or story consult.
If they were to bring him in someone else's universe, I really don't see any other, if they're not doing a direct Superman versus situation with him, or bringing him in just as a cameo at the end, they could do something where Superman's film is taking place just before meeting up with Black Adam.
See, and now you're into Black Widow territory, where the end of that film is the opening.
Sure, but we don't know what Black Adam's time frame is set in, like how long.
Well, no, because like I said, because it's that soft reboot and we've retooled Superman, we don't even know. And the fact that we still have the Shazam timeline to work with, it could have been years. It could be pre.
So why not have like a Brainiac story pre Black Adam?
I mean, and you could, or you could have, and I was actually thinking Brainiac as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if you did a Brainiac thing, this feels like it's pre Shazam.
It all depends on what the Flash is set in.
Yeah.
What time frame is Flash in? Because Supergirl is going to be tied into the Superman movie. I guarantee it.
Assuming they don't cancel it like they did Batgirl.
Well, they won't cancel the Flash. And from everything I've heard, they've talked about a lot of reshoots and stuff, but at the end of the day, its core everything has still stayed consistent throughout. So any of this talk about they're replacing Keaton with Affleck, it's not true, because it's not changed.
They may add them because it is a multiverse thing, but that's a separate argument.
Both involved.
But here's the thing. Right now, Warner Brothers can go in whatever direction they want.
Mm-hmm.
What direction they choose has traditionally been wrong.
But now we have James Gunn.
We have James Gunn. We have a change in upper management.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Superman everyone wants.
We have dedication too. We have people that care.
You have another guy that's a big personality in Dwayne Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That can command the screen time, no matter what you think of his acting ability or anything like that. He can command screen time. So they have a lot of pieces to play with, and they right now seem to have an open road.
Right.
But they are at a crossroads. So the question then becomes, do they make a deal with the devil at the crossroads? And do they go, the hierarchy of power has shifted and The Rock is driving this universe? Or do they try to keep everything balanced to where no one is driving this, but it's the DC universe?
Do you know what this is like? This is kind of like a good fall winter stew where you just have a bunch of leftovers, right?
Yep.
And you know what? Can you smell what The Rock is cooking with this stew?
And right now it depends on whether The Rock is cooking.
I think he is. I think he and James Gunn are very much in what's the toe step? What's the phrase?
Lockstep.
In lockstep. Regarding
that's interesting. I don't know how James Gunn
and Matt
Superman.
Reeves are in lockstep with what's happening with the Batman. I think everyone that's a creator that's in their universe is being given complete support from James Gunn, which is exactly where it needed to be in the first place.
Well, then
it's like what Bob Iger has said. Who's
going to drive Superman then?
Oh, that's Henry Cavill, I think. Right
Well,
now,
right,
the
but
creative
who are you
passion
going to put in
is
charge of
coming
that?
from Henry Cavill.
Is he gonna have directorial choice?
It could be. It could be. There's a
So
big enough
now
switch up.
that's
And right now, they've talked about that being a potential thing. Now this is becoming a whole Gaggle of Geeks episode. Mark, what are you
right.
doing?
I don't know, but
We
no,
just
but
crossed 20 minutes, man.
But with Gunn at the top, he's going to have to balance Matt Reeves' Batman, The Rock in this universe, and Henry Cavill as Superman
because he's already in it.
And whatever happens with the Flash movie, because now he's come in, management has changed, that they have to retool the Flash to reflect whatever choice they're making. That's why I said they're at a crossroads, and the Flash can still pick their path. And that's what I mean by that. So however the Flash, whatever direction the Flash comes out of or out into, that's the direction the DC universe is going to wind up.
Right.
So Black Adam, it's a nice origin story, but until we know what the Flash does, you really can't predict what is going to happen for his next appearance. He's obviously going to appear. The movie did well enough. The Rock is a big enough name. It's going to be something, but it's got to be big enough to keep him there. And they have to determine if he's driving this, or Superman is driving this, or Batman is driving this, or if James Gunn is driving this, and James Gunn is the one that needs to be driving this, just like Feige did.
That was our review of Black Adam.
I know, right? No, that's
the problem with the movie.
Black Adam
let's direct it back over, and we'll close this one out. We could talk more about this, but I feel so bad for Dwayne. Everybody's like, Wakanda forever, and he's like, no, I get it. We can like both. Please go to this movie, please. I'm desperate. We didn't open up in China, and we desperately wanted to help. Oh man, I thought the movie was okay. I don't think it was great. I think it was okay to good.
It's fine.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson acted his stone-faced heart out, and I think he has a lot more to show when it comes to this character that we just need to maybe have somebody look into. It's kind of like when Star Wars went from episode 2 to episode 3 with Hayden Christensen, right? Where it's like episode 2, he's definitely wooden, and there's a lot of problems with this. Like, he's creepily staring at Natalie Portman, and the cameras have been off for 2 hours. But with this, when it goes into Revenge of the Sith, which is what I'm hoping with the sequel with him, you see more dynamics. So maybe they just hire some dialogue coach or something. I think that's what could help. More
not
than
all anti-heroes have to be that stoic and
doesn't have to be smoldering all the time.
No. You can be an anti-hero and a dick.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, a la Deadpool. So that's the thing. You know, anti-hero is a philosophy, not a behavior.
Right. Well, we've come to the end of the road on this. Mark, where can the people follow you?
If you go to the website, vsmoviepodcast.com, you can see everything I ever write ever. Or if you follow us on Twitter at vsmoviepodcast, you'll get pretty much anything. But we're over on Twitter. We're over on Instagram. We're over on YouTube. Just look up Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. You will find us wherever your heart may desire.
Your dreams come true. And you can follow us on patrickbeatyreviews.com for all the latest reviews, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff. Thank you again for joining me. I'm sure I will see you very soon for the next review, and we will speak again soon.